First of all, I just want to tell you what an honor it is and a treat for me to be here. The organizations are so similar in what we do and our impact on the country and our problems that we have in terms of membership and then getting them active so we can create more Elks like you, not just people that come and join and maybe sit at a bar, or but people actually do the work. So you know, it's the same problems. So over the last, I was hired about 4 years ago, and we had 37 years of significant membership decline. We lost almost 1 million members. So they were at a point where they thought the best days were behind them, and they were starting to manage a slow death, so to speak. I call it rearranging the deck furniture in the Titanic. You know, you're really busy, but the ship is still sinking. So this last 4 years, I took on the job after 28 years in the newspaper industry as a marketing director to try to change the direction and to understand the current processes, how we could improve on them, try to change some of the image, and move the organization in a better place. And we've during those 4 years, we've had a 27% improvement to membership. And again, we'll show some of the things that are actually working. So everything that we'll show you here, there'll be some, you say, oh, well, that might spur some ideas for you, but everything we'll roll out today has already been part of our solution. So it's already been tested, so feel safe. And there'll be some things, there's a 50 membership ideas. It may not fit you. There might be one, there might be 5. But in the States, there's lodges that are small as 45 members, and there's lodges as big as 5,000 members. So you have to have, you know, kind of cast a wide net to have ideas for people. But again, it's to spur thought, to have a belief. But you see in the top, the one thing that you'll always be up against as, at least at the start, while people say that we need to change, there's always going to be a resistance to change. And one thing that we'll all agree on, that we have to have a message that we don't grow by chance, we grow by change. And when change gives us a better organization, that's good. But you're still going to have people that will resist you along the way. That makes sense? You'll see that now. But so when we share some of these ideas, I'm very interactive with, if you got a question, you have a question. If you have a comment, you know, I like when we all just kind of work together, and if there's something that doesn't make sense to you or whatever, just pop right in. And that makes it a lot more fun. But again, you're going to show you some of these things. Go ahead. That has been working. One of the most important things, I took New Jersey, but from my home state, but there was the metrics that were in place. You still always have to have metrics in everything we do. What's the goals? How do we measure it? How often do we measure it? So we can make adjustments, because we can see where we're performing. In the States, they looked at their membership numbers twice a year, probably because they didn't want to see them. They didn't want to know the news. I'm blocking your way, I apologize. So first of all, the metrics that were in place were not effective. They weren't real, they weren't achievable, and they weren't managed on a regular basis. So what I created is, I like to keep things simple, because if you understand them, then you can apply them, and for it to be simple, and then we can look at a strategic approach. But metrics are very important. So what we created is a 10 and 5 rule. And most organizations, we're both referral-based organizations. The good news, referral-based organizations are the most successful businesses, or in this case, a nonprofit organization like we are, in the world. So trust in the fact that it's great that we're both referral-based organizations. We just need to leverage that and understand it. But in terms of referral-based organizations, in the States, we need 10% to grow. 10% to bring in whatever our base lodge is. So if you have a 100-member lodge, you just come off a lunch, the carbs are settling in. So 10% of 100 is 10, easy. So whatever your base is. So if you're a 40-member lodge, it's 4. So you understand, so the churn rate, I'm not totally sure what yours is, but it's probably very low. Ours is not wasn't as bad as people thought, but they weren't measuring it. So we knew that you had, just to break even, we had to have 10% new members come in. You have people that are dying, you have people moving out of your area, and you have people that are not paying. So 10% is really not very high. In the newspaper business, even when it was a good business to be in, now it's a terrible. Even in the heyday, in the 70s and 80s, we had to write 70% of our circulation base every year just to break even for the advertisers, 70%. So when you talk about 10%, it's nothing. It's really not. So when you look at the metrics, it also helps us understand, hey, we can get this goal. So whatever you're thinking 10%, and when you go over the 10%, you're in a growth. But you must have about 10%. 10% is a good number to break even. Now, on the you see that the red goal goes up, you know, and it heats up. And so we do a lot of visual enhancements because people they learn by graphics, they learn more visually. So if you just have a bunch of numbers, you're going to put them to sleep. So when you have the elk getting all hot, people, they'll be attracted to it, So there's a little tricks to get them to understand the numbers too. Now, the blue, it goes down. On delinquency defined in the States, they had all categories. Well, it didn't make a lot of sense to me. And they had a zero delinquency goal. Well, that's impossible unless you're carrying people on your books that you shouldn't be carrying, which hurts your profitability. But that doesn't add muscle, that just adds debt. So those are metrics that were not acceptable to me. So instead of the zero delinquency, we would put 5%. And delinquency defined are people who do not pay, who do not renew for payment. Common sense. Can you do anything about someone dying? If you can, give me a call because we'll really use that in the States. Take your membership with who you go is probably not going to be the solution. Can you really do anything about someone moving out of your lodge area? Job, retirement, nothing. Those categories are not part of the delinquency. That's why you have 10% in and 5% out because that'll handle the in between is called churn. So you have some room in there. So anytime that you're lower than 5%, so again, if you have 100 members, the highest amount of non-pay cancellations you could have and still grow is what? 5%. We got you guys right after our lunch.
10.
5% of 100. So.
Oh, 5.
Okay. So you see whatever your lodge is. So you got 10% coming in to maintain and 5%. So either one of these, when you start overperforming on either one of these categories or the combination of both, you're into growth. So 10 and 5, 10 and 5. Keep that in your heads, 10 and 5, simple. And then what I do each month, I send this out and I send them a lodge by lodge, every category. So then I do the forensic data and I do all 50 states every 2 weeks. Yeah, I have no life, so I get up really early in the morning and so I do the visual and then I show them, and then the forensic, I point to areas where they can prioritize, where I see patterns, because the numbers will tell you the tale of what's happening. Then you can ask questions, and then we do this every 2 weeks, and so we can change course and send people in, but we do every 26 weeks we measure that number and we react to that number. So you can see how that may influence things in a different direction compared to 2 times a year. They used to look at the numbers in November and go, we're in trouble, and then look at them again at the end of April and go, oh my God, we took a big loss. So the 10 and 5, and then repeat it visual and the Excel looking at the forensic and where we can put our people and where we can offer problems and where we can offer solutions and attack those problems. And again, to attack the problem, never attack the people. There's a big difference. When working together to attack a problem, people don't take it personal. We're here to help. When you start asking questions about people and attacking them, they'll get defensive. They'll give you a lot of excuses and things don't get done. That's human nature. Make sense? So you can see New Jersey had an 891 increase. Now, New Jersey is not a state that is known for like people. We were joking. People don't say, "Hey, I'm going to move to New Jersey." It's a state where very difficult to get jobs, high taxes, high crime, high pollution. All the reasons you would think membership would fade. It's our highest growing state because we roll everything out there because I happen to live there. So you can grow in pockets and areas where that these things actually would work really well. So you just see they had a goal of 4,029 and they hit over 4,200. That was their 10%. And then their delinquency goal, they were under their 5%. So with the 10 and 5 and the churn in between, there was lower deaths and things like that. It had a pretty significant increase over the time. So 10 and 5. Does everybody pretty much get that? The simple part is 10 and 5, and have that understanding through the way. So the metrics are very important. Go ahead. Okay, in terms of the membership program, you need to look at this as the most important part. And with the states, they used to have one person in the lodge and the lodge secretary. Well, again, it produced a million member loss so it was probably time to change it years ago before I came in, before it got that bad. But they didn't have enough. They didn't have enough muscle towards that. Your best and brightest people need to be at the helm. It would just make sense. When membership is up, do charitable donations go up? Do charitable people do you have more of an opportunity to do more for your community with more members? Is it easier to get officers? It's easier to get everything. More revenues come in. When membership goes down, doesn't life get a lot tougher? People like you take on a lot more jobs or keep on repeating the same job over and over, right? You find yourself doing everything in your place. So a high tide lifts all boats. So the main thrust, everything we do, if we sold Coca-Cola, our job as marketers would be to sell more bottles of Coca-Cola, correct? So everything that we do in the Elks is how do we get more members out of it? And then turn them into active. And you'll see, we'll get to the next part. But the whole focus needs to be membership, membership, membership. And go back. Next one.
Which way? This one?
You went one too many. We'll get into this. So we had to restructure our committees, and you may have different titles. But basically, when they had one person and the lodge secretary was given the data and the billing information, and they would pick one chairman. And most of the time, that membership chairman was a name on the sheet. They weren't really meeting. They weren't really active. You don't lose membership or by accident. You do things to yourself, with activity. So we started saying this is the way it needs to be structured. And so you see the exalted ruler, the head of the lodge, obviously the captain of the ship has to be involved. The lodge secretary in the states, they provide all the data, who's delinquent, the number of years. So all the data comes out of there. The leading night is the next year's exalted ruler. So they need to come in trained and be a part of it. So they're coming in already knowing the program. And then when you look at it, then you have a membership chairman. It used to start at number 4. And now we put in higher levels of accountability. And then based on the size of the lodge, one extra person, because there's so much to do. And so now you have a fully functional committee, fully staffed to handle the most important tasks that we have. It can't be done with one person, or it has to be a group effort, and they have to have specific. So now we'll go to the job descriptions. So we taught them the job descriptions, made it kind of fun. So there's people, there's talents. If you're like the states, if you ask somebody to be a committee chairperson, sometimes they'll run from you. If you give them some sort of title or responsibility. But if you find a niche for a certain person that's kind of good at it, like, hey, will you make a couple calls for me? If you don't label it with a call, in the states you would say to somebody, hey, would you be my such and such chairperson? And they'd be going, oh no, I don't want any part of that. But if you ask them, will you call these members that are delinquent? Yeah, I'll do that for you. So we try to find people in the right place and use your talent, where it fits. So the collections were to go for the people who haven't paid their dues yet. Again, that's the category of the 5%, to make the calls, to make them understand, is there a problem? The one thing, Elks, no matter what, we get sick, we lose our jobs, we go through divorce, we bleed, we cry. Sometimes the reason people don't pay their dues, they're going through hard times. And to try to understand what the situation is. What we saw in the United States was a lot of the lodges had an attitude that if you didn't pay your dues, you were just irresponsible. They would put them, over in this side. Instead of addressing that, there's legitimate concerns why somebody doesn't. And then what can we do with relief committees and what we can do to help them and try to work through. Because what you'll find is when people are going through really, really hard times in their life, they remember who stood by them, who was loyal to them, and that loyalty is repaid for years after, instead of cast them away because they've gone through a hard time. You might have the same situation here. So The collections, we have a series of delinquency letters and phone calls and scripts and a whole process plan to make sure we're addressing those in a very respectful and a very understanding way to keep those members on the book and keep the dues paying. But you'll see there's a sequence, and some of it's automated and some of it is very, very personal, very, you know, we always address it as that we're going to help be part of the solution in a very kind way. And obviously, it's more successful than if, hey, Joe, you didn't pay your dues. What the heck's wrong with you? You know, you're going to get a phone. They're going to be embarrassed and walk away from your organization. The orientation, we're going to get into that. The orientation is where we've done great things in terms, and we'll continue to do. My belief is every organization, you look at yourself in your rooms. If you weren't part of your lodge right now, would your lodges even be here? Maybe not. Would they be worse without you? People like you have come in and made the world of difference in your lodge. We don't have many like you. The goal is to get more people like you who are part of the solution, who really, really add to the muscle of the lodge, not just a number. So the orientation, our belief is we grow elkdom one elk at a time. And when we get those elks active and we get them excited and part of the solution, that becomes a stronger lodge. Then it goes up to Grand Lodge. So we don't go top to the bottom. We start at the one elk at a time. The next generation of elks, the next greatest generation of elks, starts at orientation. We have basically 90 days to inspire them, to educate them, and then get them involved. People who just join and added numbers don't help our situation. It may look good on the books, but we need active members. We agree? We need you. We need the next generation to be the best generation. We do that through orientation, and we'll go through what some of the changes we did. We'll go back to that. I firmly believe it's the most important thing we can do as an organization. We need to use our time and our talents more effectively, and you'll see some of the processes that we're currently doing, and we're seeing that. Since we've stabilized our membership, remember the numbers are bigger in the whole 9 yards, but the biggest statistic I will tell you, since we stabilized our membership and we worked on orientation to inspire them more, we saw a $53 million increase in donations in just 1 year. $53 million. Those are numbers that you go, wow, this is where we're making an impact. And we're seeing the lowest amount of cancellations that we've ever had in the history of the order. This is within the 4 years, and they continue to go better, better, better. Remember that blue category? And we've gone from adding an average of about 48 to 53,000 new members a year. We hit 76,000 this year. So all categories, the money, how many people are joining, how many people are maintaining their membership, all hitting. And so we're excited. So we're continuing that, but the orientation is the key. Okay, the marketing, obviously, again, if we were trying to promote Coca-Cola, the goal is to sell more Coca-Cola. But with Facebook now and all the social media and all the platforms you can create, you can get them really engaged. You'll see there'll be a section. And when I joined the Elks, and probably most of you, it was all about bricks. It was, you came to the lodge, just like the way you used to shop. You used to have to go to the store. Everything was about a brick. You came into a brick building or whatever to do your, and so if you didn't engage them at the lodge level, you lost them. Now it's about bricks and clicks. You can make them active from anywhere with your social media platforms and promoting the lodge, and the donations will come in. Just because they don't come to the physical lodge doesn't mean the lodge isn't open. So think on the virtual experiences. You'll see there's a huge upside to that. How many people are on Facebook? All of us, right? I have 2,800 elk friends. Some of them I even know. Friend me when you get a chance, and you'll see it'll open you up to a whole bunch of things, because people are all sending me things. It's kind of like fun, but I love to, and you'll see there's a whole, like all the things going around in the country, and so it'd be great if you guys come on board too, and we exchange things, but you'll see that's a driver. It gave us a lot of opportunity to communicate. On an average day, my Elks platforms reach 60,000 elks a day. That's great. I sent Deb and Kevin some metrics from our San Antonio, from everything we produced, and we had 260,000, I think. Where is Deb here, Kevin? We had 260,000 individual followers that weren't at the convention with us at all our everything we were promoting on our platforms. Those numbers are staggering. So you can make them active from everywhere. So the promoting of this is very important. Just because they're not in the brick building doesn't mean they can't be really helpful to you. And obviously, you know, the money flows in from the donation side as well. So, huh?
Elgoni, we do Canada Day, which is our big thing every year where we celebrate Canada Day, Canada's birthday, right? And Elgoni is a town of 2,500 people or so. We get people coming from the city, Regina, out, and they're not Elks members or nothing, but they're family. They have to bring their kids, and they come to the activities, they come to the parade, they do all those things, and they follow us on our Facebook page. They're excited to be a part of it. And then out of there, we maybe get a couple new members.
Right. But you're also promoting your image.
Absolutely.
And they understand the brand and what you do. And we've all gone through the thing. You wear your Elks shirt at the airport or someplace and they'll go to you, what do the Elks do? So these are questions that are helping drive you. And some of your social media platforms are your messages, I think, are great. I told Kevin, you're really progressive and like you really hit the mark on some of the things you're doing. So I was pretty excited when I saw, I'm liking everything you do. I'm following it along and thinking, you guys, because when I started it in the stateside, we had nothing. They were afraid of it. They thought it was like voodoo or something. What will happen? Well, we might grow. You guys were already ahead of the curve on that. So, but again, the marketing part and then sales. Some people are just really good at recruiting and they thrive on recognition. I'm going to tell you this line and remember it. Especially with volunteer organizations, remember this line, you're going to repeat it. It's cheaper to praise them than pay them. Repeat after me. It's cheaper to praise them than pay them. It is something that you must understand and we must understand. What drives a successful volunteer organization is praise. Because there's certainly no money to it. It costs people money. It costs people time. They must feel good about their experience. Here's the opposite of that. Did you ever work at your lodge all day on a fundraiser? And you know, you put all this time and energy and then you run the fundraiser and then at the end of the night, somebody who didn't help you whatsoever, didn't lift a finger, come up to you and tells you everything you did wrong? Yeah. That ever happened to you? Raise your hands. That's the opposite of praise. And you're thinking, oh, I'll never do this again, you know. But our organizations, the praise is what makes someone want to feel, if they feel good about the experience, they're going to come back and do it and do it and do it. And so remember, it's cheaper to praise them than pay them. That praise is a driver. So salespeople, people who are really good at recruiting new members, thrive on praise. That's what gets them excited. And there's a section in that. Go ahead. So what we did over the last 4 years in the orientation, we'll hit this, and you'll be able to visit this and see it. We launched a new orientation video. The one that was there, it needs to be changed again. It's already moving towards it. But they had the same orientation video since 1995. And in 2014, 1995 to 2004, and it wasn't a good message in 1995. It was really stale. It didn't have a lot of thought to it. There was a lot of seasoned members, so to speak. So when you're trying to recruit younger and trying to think, and that was the year that females were into the Elks, so they had them dressed in a lot of male clothing the first year, and there was a lot of things that were just like, whoa, this isn't good. It wasn't helping educate or inspire. It had no real, I call them jobs. What do we want out of this video? So get rid of this. So we made a new one and more active. There's more, not enough yet, but there's more diversity. There's more youthful faces. There's more actual action segments of the video where people are out. There's a lot of testimonials from members of a lot of the country, why they feel good about their experience. And there's a lot of positive energy, a lot of kids. It drives, it moves, it inspires, it thinks. But so the orientation video, and then we made it, you'll see on the different platforms. When I joined, you got to see an orientation video once. It was probably a good thing because I remember it wasn't very good. But now you can go on. I created a membership toolbox, and you can watch it over and over and over, or show friends, and so 24/7. Where before you could see it once. Well, how much can you learn in one night? You can't. So again, we're already on our next one. Then we created new surveys for every new member that comes in. And the surveys also include an expectation of make me active, get me active. I joined a volunteer organization. They used to recruit the Elks in the United States on just a social basis. Hey, low cost booze and food. We're the deal of the town. And people joined for social reasons, and they never became officers, and they didn't get active. Well, this was the fish you were trying to fish for here. You got the fish that you were fishing for. Somebody who just came in for low cost beverage and meals, not to do any work or be part of the solution. Make the same as you guys. So the expectation was right off the bat is we want you to be a good elk. We need to add muscle. That's the future. So the orientation survey also goes through certain things, and we'll see more of it. But it lifted all the standards in the lodge to make sure they covered certain things. Through surveys, why new members quit we did a survey of why the new members were quitting. And we tailored some of the surveys, not only to make them more active, to address some of the reasons why people quit within the first 2 years. And it's helped us a great deal. So we lost a virtual experience called My Journey Begins. So when I joined the Elks a quarter of a century ago, I'm only 30. Come on, don't laugh that hard. To use our virtual experiences. So when I joined, the orientation began and ended on one night. It's like a fire hose. You're supposed to learn 150 years of history in a night, and it was just, everything was set. Like I said, we were in our own way. So we start with the orientation at the lodge is where the journey begins. And the journey begins through the whole, and at the orientation night, and goes through the whole year. So we're always working on developing that person to be active, but our biggest emphasis is on the first 90 days. So My Journey Begins is the experience. And so now after we get them at the lodge level and we take them through the orientation video, the orientation video and then the surveys, then we push them into the virtual experiences. So they can watch these at their own time, give them a bigger picture of what Elks do. We have conversations with them. How's things going, and then we show them, what we're doing throughout the nation, and again, they click on these on their own time, and they're more inspired. But again, they go right on the page. So My Journey Begins. So it's a different concept. Does it make sense? So to leverage your virtual experience as part of the toolkit, we'll go through it. And then we have a greeting. When somebody joined, we launched this year, they're greeted by our Grand Exalted Ruler within the first week. We download the information that the lodges put in their system. And then I'll show you, we have a virtual greeting. So when I joined, the only time what I knew of the Grand Exalted Ruler, it would come in a magazine once a month. And it was just somebody traveling the nation. Oh, looks important. Have no clue what they do. Our Grand Exalted Ruler, this was an initiative I put in last year, within the first weeks, personally greets every new member. And you're going to see, then has an interactive experience. So the top person in the order is having a new experience, has an interactive experience with a brand new member. And it's about the first 10 days. And I'll show you the metrics behind it. And we're having great success. So the highest level person with the newest person. And you'll see that conversation. And so kind of a neat idea, right? So let's go through some of these so you can look at them. So again, you'll see the big focus on that education and inspiration from when they start. And that's where we go. So I created, it's called the Membership Toolkit. And we can show you some of that. So you click on whether news and stats, member orientation, social media guidelines. There's a whole bunch on here. But as far as orientation, they can click on all these and they're printables, they're videos, accessible to every elk 24/7. So we making sure it's all out there. So they're all get on here. So if the lodges needed the surveys, click on there. If they want, when they go to the virtual, My Journey Begins. So it's all in one spot. And so we promote. I'll be in the States and I'll say, where do you find this? Elks.org, and they'll all yell, Membership Toolkit. But there's all sorts of things. If they have delinquency, if they're looking for strategic approaches to get new members. But it's all in one spot. But here's the orientation. I'll go ahead. So My Journey Begins, the virtual experience. This is our Grand Secretary would be your Grand Executive, same type of thing. For all the headaches and all the problems, the Grand Office. So he personally click on this. And so after they went to the lodge and they go to the My Journey, they get this part, they get a welcome from the Grand Secretary. And then they click on these, they open up a whole bunch of videos that we've done. our scholarship programs, our youth activities, our veterans. We've created these about 2-minute videos that are high energy, really well done, that gets everybody excited. Wow, this is a great organization I joined. I want to be part of it. This is really, I didn't know that Elks do so much, you know. And so again, going back to that time frame of 90 days to get them active, and so, but they're doing this at their own time. So it's not, and then what we do, we send them little messages along the way, and then we ask them, tell us about your first month. We ask them certain, you know, how's things going? And so now we're having all these touch points. We're doing it all in the, you know, with, you know, based on our virtual experiences, and so we're collecting data and passing it back to the lodges so we don't lose them right away, or where we can help, or, you know, and so we're having a lot more communications, and we're seeing also too what works. So you'll see that, click your story, but the whole concept, My Journey Begins, pretty cool, right? And I will tell you, it's a driver. Remember, we weren't doing anything. Watch a film that wasn't really good on 1 month, boom, you're supposed to be an active elk. Didn't work. Million member this, you'll see why some of the improvements are driving. So go ahead. So you guys have this. So we created surveys, the expectations, your interests, you know, where you would tie in, what your, if is it, you know, if you like to cook, do you think you got a position for them in the lodge? You know, youth activities. So we try to find where there's an interest, and where there's an interest, we pass it on to the chairman and the exalted ruler. So they call them, hey Joe, hey Susie, hey, you know, this is an activity you like. How many hours per week are you willing to dedicate? You know, some people, you know, maybe they'll not answer those, but it's still telling us, hey, you joined a volunteer organization. Our expectation is to, because if we don't get them involved, they're not going to be successful, and they probably won't retain anyway. So we need to try to drive them in. You know, what days are you available? So we try to ask a lot of questions with the activity, and then their first impressions of an elk. So what they learned, what we might have missed. And you guys can see this a little bit more, the chain of command. What we found in the American side, and it's still something we're fighting, that a lot of the answers they would get, they would go to the bar. Instead of talking to the lodge president or the secretary, they would go to the bar for the answer. When you're getting your answers at the bar, you're going to get a very confident answer. It's probably not going to be the right one. So I call them the Midnight Trustees. I call them Bud Light, Harry Heineken. So I believe in diversity, so I got a female one called Stella. So, you know, you want to make sure that you understand that it's an Elks Lodge with a bar, not a bar with an Elks Lodge. There's a difference. So they need to know who the chain of command is, because the answers that they will have a new member are ones that will shape them for the future. So if they get it from the people that have the knowledge and the experience, they're going to get a right answer. It's going to be for the betterment of the community, for the betterment of the lodge. If they kind of drift and get that answer at the bar, maybe not. Maybe not. But so there was a change in philosophy that's helped us there. We also found that through our surveys of members quitting, they would say, come down to the lodge. Well, they would go to the lodge on, say, Monday night, and the lodge was closed. Well, they didn't tell me that. They didn't give me the hours of operation. My membership card was good any place throughout the country. Go to Hamilton Lodge or wherever, in our case, you go to Arizona or Florida, and they would pull up to the lodge and the lodge was closed. How many times would you go back to a place, especially when you're new and the lodge was closed, before you go, what did I just join? So we looked at different, based on the data of the cancellations, and we found out, you know, the hours of operation were big, and the other one was we weren't very friendly, and so we'll address some of those. You know, we always say the BPOE, best people on earth. Well, the data proved that we weren't. New members felt that they were not treated real well, kind of like the new kid in school. Oh boy, that's a fine. Shutting it off. Sorry about that. So you'll find the survey, Grand Lodge website, you'll find some things that are drivers. So if you missed it or they didn't hear, you knew enough to go back. But these are internal surveys. There's not a pass or fail at Grand Lodge. These are here to assist the lodges to work better, to better solutions, to get a more active member. Go ahead. So this is some of the data too. We rolled this out this year. Remember I told you the Grand Exalted Ruler has an interactive experience right away in the first, every Sunday we download the members, secretaries across the country, put in the new member information, and then on Monday we send out a greeting. It's personalized. It's not dear member. Yeah, it kind of misses the point of being personalized. It'll be dear Joe, dear Susie, whatever is on the, and it'll go through, welcome to Benevolent and Protective Order of Elks. And again, this is a very hello greeting from the highest person of Elkdom to the brand new member and their first 10 days. Really, really good approach for us. Something they never would have happened before. As the organization's Grand Exalted Ruler, encourage you to learn more. So then they register on elks.org. He encourages them to do that. And then click here, poof, they're right at the registration page. So during that time period, when we first launched it, we had 11,000 people just because they got the greeting and pushed it into it. We also like you to learn more. Remember the My Journey Begins. So if it was missed at the Grand Lodge or the Lodge level and the new member did not go on to the My Journey Begins virtual experience yet, well, the Grand Exalted Ruler is encouraging them. So now we have another push where they go to the My Journey Begins and they're inside the virtual experience when they click onto that. And so again, thanks you, embarked on a great adventure, encourages them, then takes them down. Hey, why not share the fun? Similar to Facebook, every time you get a new member, you open up to their friends and family to join. So you have a whole new world of people, because birds of a feather flock together. Facebook got to be 4 billion, one member at a time. When you get a friend on Facebook, don't you get a whole bunch of referrals? And we're a referral-based organization. So every time somebody joins, you have a whole new world of friends and family to come in. So what we do, hey, why not share the fun? It's easy to invite your friends and family. Click on that, and what pops up in their mailbox? Membership applications. Fill them right online, downloadable. You got your friends over. Hey, I just joined the Elks. It's it's a great organization, and it's right there in their mailbox, ready to go. So the expectation is that they'll recruit their friends and family, and we put the applications right in there. And those are obviously, none of these cost any money on the, these are freebies. It's driving the number. So you say, how do you go from a high 40,000s to 76,000 in 4 years? This is one of the approaches. We just, we're casting a wider net. We're using our virtual experiences. We're leveraging our new members. That's organic growth too. When the biggest portion of new members that are coming in are from your current new members, you're doing something really good. So that's what we're driving. So kind of a cool approach, the Grand Exalted Ruler e-greeting. You would see how that would work. But on a professional standpoint, when you joined, did you get a personal greeting from the Grand Exalted Ruler? We never did.
I got a package
Yeah.
with a video.
So again, you see the orientation approach. We put a lot of time and effort in moving towards this, and we're going to continue to do that. The whole thing is, again, I'm going to go back, 90 days. 90 days to make them you. 90 days to make them active, add the muscle, to inspire them, to educate them, or they either drop. You've gone through the same thing. Bring so many people in, and more people go out the back door. So this is addressing that. And so you can see why some of the numbers are, but makes sense, and it helps you. So this is adding a lot to our organization. We're seeing a 20% improvement just on this. So go ahead.
Have you brought this to Deb's?
Deb saw it in Seattle. I think that's one of the reasons I'm here.
Yeah, from a Grand Lodge point of view, connecting with Rick is when Kevin came into the organization about 2.5 years ago, and then I'm now a year in, are some of our goals and vision already included this stuff. So a whole new, if you look at the Elks, our website has changed, and then we're slowly adding things to it. But it's giving you as lodges tools, like the membership tool, database, and all that. That all needs to come with time. So Rick is gracious to come this week and inspire and give ideas and stuff like that. But we're on the same page.
Absolutely on the same page. And I'm just telling you, we rolled it out. So if there's any doubt when you go back home and say some of this stuff, I'm showing you the stuff that's working for us. But in your common sense in your mind will say, yeah, it would work. It's pretty slick. It would work. And it matches the times and physically, because some of it's automated, it's working for you on your behalf, because you only have so much time and ability. You can't, right now you're doing probably too much already. But these are more things that we give them. Provide the lodge. You'll give 3 applications to every new member to come in. There is rewards along the way, but you can hand out surveys. But you can look at this at your own time. Go ahead. But it gets in there. Mentoring. It was always the Elks philosophy that the sponsor would be the mentor of the person. It made sense. But we also look, okay, well, that may be good, but it was only part of the solution. Couldn't be all the solution because after all, we wouldn't have had 37 years of membership losses if it was the right solution. Again, it may be part, but it wasn't. So one little technique you can do right now and you can take back, and it works. And you'll think, is that simple? Yeah, it is this simple. One little thing that we added to that is every new member, on top of these other touch points we have, the virtual experiences, the e-greeting, the whole bit, we have the lodges designate. Remember that job descriptions, and one of them was sales? We have, and senior citizens are the best at this. They call up a new member within the first week. Hey, Joe, hi, Susie, thanks for joining whatever lodge tonight. Give me a lodge name. What's your lodge? Make it easy to pronounce. Altona, I can say that. Altona Lodge. We're so happy that you're here. This week at the lodge, we have a steak dinner. We have a fundraiser for this. We love to see you down. And remember, you need to bring your friends and family now because, we're a referral-based organization. Bring them down. You're going to help you get your 3 new members this year. So everybody comes in has a goal to bring in 3 new members. That's what we asked them all to do. And again, that's helping us move with an exciting orientation program. So we call them within the first week, a personal call from somebody at the lodge. It's very folksy, it's very professional, it's effective. Did you guys get a call the first week from a lodge member telling you what the next activities were in your lodge? We didn't get anything. And we didn't wonder why they didn't come back. And we wonder why when they weren't staying more than, they weren't renewing their membership, and the surveys come back and said, you're not friendly. Well, this changed that. All of a sudden, hey, I got a call within the first week. They told me everything was going on. They encouraged me to come down to the lodge, encouraged me to bring friends and family. And guess what's happening more often than not? They're coming back in the first week. They're getting involved in activity. Remember that we got so much time period to get them active? It's just a folksy, no-cost method that works like a charm. One senior citizen, I say senior citizen because you're usually more patient, and hey, I'll do that for you. No problem. Hey, we're so happy you're here, blah, 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 this week at the lodge, and bring friends and family. What also happened, too, when they brought friends and family down to the lodge, were they sitting alone? No. So they added another problem, because sometimes you get somebody new, like you're sitting alone at the lunch table when you're a little kid at school. It's very uncomfortable. So you saw that it was a positive experience for them. But that one call changes everything. One little thing, one little move over can change the whole professionalism and change the member's direction. So that call there is big. Go ahead. Okay, going back to the top recruiters, we put in a top recruiter because remember we talked about recognition, cheaper to praise them than pay them. And our top recruiters in the country, we put a program in, they go crazy. And we started working on low cost, no cost tips for those. And here's some of the findings that we found. People love seeing their name up on a website or in the lodge bulletin or up on a board. Joe brought in 4 applications this month. But Joe loves that. He just loves hearing this, or Susie. People who are really good at recruiting love to be recognized for it. And so what we did too, we encouraged them to give them parking spots at their lodge. Not all of you have parking spots, but do some of you have parking spots at the lodge? In the States, we told them, give somebody a parking spot near the door. We're a top recruiter of the month. And one of our top recruiters is actually from Minnesota. He's a flight attendant for Delta. And he wears his lodge pin on every flight he goes. You see the shiny Elks pin and going up and down, serving the drinks. True story. People say, what's that? Well, then he goes into his elevator speech. Oh, I'm a member of the Elks, and the Elks do this, do that, blah, blah, blah. And he, because with us now, you can sponsor a person anywhere in the country. You don't have to be a local lodge. I could sponsor a person in Alaska. It doesn't. They just have to have my name on it. So he's one of the top recruiters. And I said, "What drives you?" And he says, "I love that new program you put in with a free parking spot. For the top recruiter." And I said, "Why?" He says, You ever come to Minnesota in the middle of the winter? That parking spot's a big deal. He loves it. But there's certain things that you'll be surprised what gets people excited, but it's all recognition. But we put in a top recruiter program, and there's some tips on there. So we're just driving the positive. Okay, keep on going. I'm going to be late. So what we did we automated a lot of the lodge secretaries, the delinquency. So I can show you those as well. And they do mail merges. You can edit those, but they have a series of letters that go out to anybody who's delinquent. And go ahead. So secretaries don't have to have a lot of time writing these letters. They're all written for them, and it merges right into their database. So it takes the delinquents and sends out 4 different types. And again, I told you, just reminders, gentle reminders of why they pay, and encourages people to either go on the website and pay or have a conversation. So obviously those, to get people to retain and pay their dues, we all need that dues money, and we don't want to lose them as a member. But these things, we can take you through those at a different time. Go ahead. We created phone surveys, so we have people, remember on that were helping those 4 job descriptions on collections. So, what do you do when you call a member that hasn't paid? Well, here's a question, some questions that you should be asking them. So we have all these too, why they weren't doing it. So we created, for image and both inside and outside of the lodge, a lot of people comes in, we created indoor and outdoor branding campaigns for the lodges, printables, deliverables that they can go right on the membership toolkit, but very niche. Every lodge is a unique footprint in their market. So one size fits all approaches don't necessarily work as effectively. So we niche right down to the lodge. We make actual, on our graphic staff, we'll actually make these indoor, whether it's table tent cards, placemats, brochures. We niche them to the specific lodge, their strengths, their community. So it's very local. Because again, the strength of the lodge strengthens Grand Lodge. If it's a Grand Lodge approach and down, it's not as effective. And that's what we were doing before. Go ahead. So we create a program we have right now, table, they can make 10 cards at the bar, our placemats, our signs, and it's called Elks Do. Elks Do. And we promote all the facts, things that we're proud of, statistics. So I'm going to just yell back to me Elks Do. Just practice right now. I'll give you 1, 2, 3, yell back Elks Do. 1, 2, 3. Okay. So pretend, because I don't know all your stats yet or anything. Who has one of the largest college scholarship programs in the United States? You would say Elks do. Who donates more than $675 million for the betterment of the communities in the United States? Elks do. So now just change these for Canada, And so the whole thing is called Elks Do, Elks Do, Elks Do. So we're promoting all our strengths and all our image at the local, for the members, so they know what, so there's some pride building, and when guests comes in, this is what the Elks do. So you guys have such great youth charities, what you're doing in your communities, and so at the lodge level, your individual things would go under these Elks do. So we customize these for the lodge. They go on, they print them out, they can do whatever they want, but we have some of this local indoor branding that's going on. It's called Elks do. Go ahead. Now, what we do to get people more active in we create these niche brochures, they're PDFs, and they're also printables that they can do right there. So we right down to the lodge level committees or the lodge itself, we create customized brochures so people coming in to get them more active. But again, who the chairman is, what that local lodge is doing for the community, who are the contact people, photos locally of the impact. So we customize it right to even though there's 1,900 lodges, we need to be that granular in our approach for that lodge. We can't just assume if it works in Bismarck, North Dakota, that it would work in Hawaii. They're different markets. So we customize what they do, the pride that they have, and we go from there. So we do this niche materials for them. I do this with a volunteer staff, by the way. I just have a bunch of good Elks that are like, hey, this is great stuff. I'll help you do this, and they're graphic artists, but we turn it around pretty quickly. But you'll see some of those. Okay, go ahead. So we created an outdoor sign. This is more like the image. When I went through the United States, here we give out millions and millions of dollars. We're over $4 billion, and our image across the country, either they didn't know what they were doing or we were just a bar. And when I went through the country, I saw 2 1,900 lodge signs. I saw 2 words everywhere I went, and it was bar and bingo. Bar and bingo. And what was the image in the country? Bar and bingo. Well, who gave them that image? We're both 2 of the premier charitable organizations in our nations. We really are. We can't be replaced. We do work that nobody would fill that void if we weren't around. Is that true, right? And so we have to promote what we do. McDonald's, even though it's a lousy product, one thing they have done forever is the Golden Arches. What do they have on the Golden Arches? How many billion serve, right? So we came up with a formula, and I did it. So change your sign, change your image. It's part of the outdoor branding. If you went by a local organization and you saw that $1 million donated to this community, since you've been around since 1912, your numbers are going to be huge. When you look at your charitable contributions, your time and hours, or your mileage and hours, so when you compile all those numbers, your impact to Canada is going to be millions and millions of dollars. So when people drove by your individual lodges and they saw $5 million donated to this community, if you drove by a different organization in your town and you saw that, wouldn't you be impressed? So the whole leveraging the sign about putting you at the forefront of being an organization that does a lot for the betterment of the community, it's an approach that's working for us in the image. Go ahead. And then we created all these other outdoor signs everywhere we do it. We wanted to send 2 messages: give back to your community and become an elk. Give back to your community. So we had the message why you should be an elk. We always start with the why. Why? To give back to your community. And then so we let everybody know using our buildings. So we weren't going out and purchasing real estate or spending a lot of money. We were taking our buildings and our properties and leveraging through our own signage, a 2-point message. And again, you see why the numbers drive that. We created, you probably saw that in, go back to those sale signs, those windshield signs. Wherever we went, we could take them with us. They're about $60. So we niched the artwork. So we created outdoor campaigns. Again, low cost, no cost that everybody can do. And the image and the message is consistent. Give back to your community, become an elk. Drives the question. It works really well. Go ahead. See how that would look on the front of your building? So people know right away why should they become an elk? To help the community. Hey, they're looking for members. They get it right away. Isn't that's kind of pretty though, right? It will catch your eye. Catches your eye and you're already part of the organization. But again, leveraging that empty space on your buildings or wherever you see fit, those are low cost, no cost. We get those from a company. The lodges pay about $50. But boy, do we get a lot of. But again, image changing, drives a message. I hope I did the logos okay. Go ahead. Again, you'll see not everybody has a lot of money. They have basic signage, but you drove by, this lodge has made over 1.5 million in charitable. So everybody driving by goes, whoa, I didn't know the Elks did all that kind of stuff. You deserve that recognition. So we had to be the reason. We had to change our image, and we continue to change our image through our signage and our branding. Go ahead. At a grassroots level, we created. This is my lodge website. We created new payment platforms. And so people could pay and be active from anywhere. Wix is probably, if you know nothing about individual lodge websites, write this down, WIX. That's like website building for dummies. It is, remember when you were kids and you had like paint by numbers and at the end, hey, I did a really good picture. The less you know about website development, Wix is the way to go. I know nothing about website. My wife and I built this, but it has all different upcoming events, making a difference. They do all the work for you. Anybody ever use Wix? Go have a little bit of fun with it. It's only about $60 a year to have that. So go ahead. And so then we created, the Elks payment processes were still very much in the 1970s in the States. They mailed you had to mail in a check. You had to mail in a check. Do you do the same thing? You mail in a check. This is the new checkbook. Everybody's got a debit card in their pocket, right? The next generation of Elks will not be using a checkbook. True story. We have members under 40. We have all these groups driving, having conversations where we get leaders under 40, and the archaic payment system of the check is just. So my son, who's 30, a whole bunch of his group of friends join. They all played college baseball together. Now they're playing softball. They're all in responsibilities, teachers and everything. And one is a policeman. The secretary comes up, you needed to bring a check when you join for such and such. And there was fear in his eyes. This is a trained, policeman, to face, the crime. And he had fear. And she says, what's the matter? She says, I don't have a checkbook. Can I get a check from my mother? And we're like, we have to make sure the payment processes are modernized for the next generation. And this is not even modern anymore. But everything you need to be able to have, except credit cards, debit cards, and go to the next thing. I can send you this. This is a simple shopping cart. It's through PayPal. You don't need to have a PayPal card. It accepts everything. And now you have a click on, it's called Business PayPal. It's free. How much does it cost? Free. And you can pass on, you click a little button, and it's a convenience fee, so the small charge would actually be paid by the member, so it doesn't come out of your lodge. That's what we do. And we've been doing it since 2005, and nobody's ever complained. And in New Jersey, they invented complaining, and complaining started in New Jersey. Look at it's a historical fact. So what we did, you create your own boxes, so whatever your local charities are, so there's your dues, whatever credit card, whatever, so you go down and put whatever you want, whatever your whatever donations you specifically want. And what you'll find, when the member, you send the dues payment out and you pay by check, they're going to pay that amount. When they go in the shopping cart, they've got more money in their credit cards and debit cards. And again, you're passing on the convenience fee if you so choose, and we do. So they'll go on and go $10, $10, $10, $10. Our first year, again, it's a 500 member lodge. We saw over 3,000 lift in our other charitable accounts from people paying online. This was money we could have had all the time. And then you'll see that you have the opportunity. It's very simple. So people who will not attend your events doesn't mean they won't donate. So you're promoting with their other platforms. Hey, if you can't be there for this fundraiser, go to our lodge website, send us a donation, and we'll recognize you. Cool. Remember I said make me active from anywhere? So we're seeing a big influx of donations. I can't be there. Doesn't mean I won't donate it. And I love to be recognized. So all of a sudden we're seeing a lot of money come through. So we see on our lodge website, 500 member lodge, we see over $30,000 a year now come through our website. And it's pretty slick. But it's $60 to set it up. I can send you, it takes you about 10 minutes. It's so simple, you go, oh my gosh. The PayPal business objects, they'll try to upsell you to something else. You don't need anything else. Take the free one. And you do not have to pay but even if you did, it's probably cheaper than chasing down the money. So if you want information on that, I'll give it to you. I'm here all week and everything. But I will tell you, if these processes were difficult, I could not have done them. So you have to trust right away of my limited abilities. These are very simple. So go ahead. So it's time to make history. You have a great opportunity. Once you start, and there's other things we haven't shown, but we can get more into the granular or have conversations or send you some things. I can work with you guys too. I've told Kevin I'd be willing for a month or so to have our art staff do some niche products for you at no cost for your specific lodge to roll things out if you'd like. There's no catch. We're friends. And so you can see if some of these things that are driving. But I took you through a lot in a little, but you'll see these are the things that are working, that have changed our direction, that probably may make a little sense. There's some other things as well. Didn't show you all of them. But if you learned, or if you got one good idea, raise your hand. You didn't get any good ideas? But let me know if anything we can help you on with that. But these are some of those. I know I went through a lot real fast and did it for lunch. But questions? I'm not a bad guy. You can ask them. So that's, and we'll show some of the other things. Okay.
Did you say that you had presented to some exalted rulers that are meeting today already?
No, I did not. No, you're my first group.
Ah, great.
This was the group Kevin wanted first.
This is perfect. Thank you.
And again, you'll have it, but there's more to it. But I will tell you, it's easy. These are just modest adjustments and different approaches, and it sounds like you're already off on some of those. So if anything, if it validates where you're going, you'll take comfort in that, and just be patient in something. But you do grow by change. You don't grow by chance, and you know that. So, okay, thank you very much.